everyone, Lucamus Prime here, so it's time for the next episode of my series, Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought I'd once again cover an example of a television series where I personally think that old is better than new. This used to be one of my favourite shows of all time, and it was also one of my favourite animated shows of all time as well. And it's been ongoing ever since 1989 to this day. But personally, I think the show should have ended a long time ago. And this show, which I personally think whether old is better than new, is none other than The Simpsons. So, you guys are probably going to be asking me, what do I think of The Simpsons' old stuff first? Well, let's talk positively first, of course. So, in many times in my life, ever since I was a kid, I have ended up watching episodes of The Simpsons, including the very first episode of the series. And I personally think that when it started, it was, in my opinion, just comedy gold, in my opinion, with great characters who were really funny and very iconic, I must say. And Matt Groening, in my opinion, is an absolute genius when creating these characters. And I definitely think he did a great job kicking off this series. And I personally think that in the 90s, the show was at its best, in my opinion, as well as, of course, in the early 2000s as well. And in terms of other Simpsons media, I've also as well, I'll have a pleasure of playing some of the Simpsons games. My personal favourite Simpsons game of all time is The Simpsons Hit and Run, which is basically grandma-daughter but with Simpsons characters, and it's definitely, in my opinion, lots of fun. And a massive example of in my opinion, an old game that's better than the games we're getting today. And I've also as well had the pleasure of playing The Simpsons game on Xbox 360 when I was a kid as well. Definitely lots of fun childhood memories playing that game, and I also as well recently got it on PS3 as well, so I can replay it for some happy memories. And in terms of as well attractions, I've also as well been on a Simpsons ride at Universal Studios Florida in 2013 as well, and it's a great ride in my opinion. The only nitpick I have with it is that Harry Shearer's characters did not speak in it because he did not participate in it, I think due to creative difference, which was a shame really, especially because I like Harry Shearer as a comedian and voice actor. But yeah, it's a shame he didn't take part in the ride, isn't it? And the same could also be said for crossover appearances too, because I've also as well seen the Simpsons crossover episode with Family Guy as well, on the Family Guy episode called The Simpsons Guy. It's a decent crossover in my opinion, but like with the Simpsons ride, my biggest complaints about that crossover is that Harry Shearer's characters did not speak in it because he didn't return for it. But it was a decent crossover for what it was worth. But when it comes, of course, to what I think of today's Simpsons, I personally think that the show's perceived downgrade in quality, which has been happening, a decline in quality, couldn't be any more true, in my opinion, because I personally think that in recent times, the show has ended up being, from one of the funniest shows I've seen in my life back when I was a kid, to complete garbage, and I don't understand what happened whatsoever. And personally, I think the show should have ended with the Simpsons movie in 2007, because I have seen that film, guys. It's really funny, in my opinion. And I think it would have been a great way to end the series because it gave character development to the Simpsons themselves and to other supporting characters. And I think it was a pretty good finale, in my opinion, to this show. So I personally think the movie could have been a very good end to the series, the whole franchise, really. But no, they kept milking the show more and more. And it turns out that ever since 1st October 2023, that they're now doing a 35th season. Oh my goodness, will this show ever end? Probably not. So it's still going to this day. And personally, I think in recent times, the show has been complete garbage. And I was also say recent because Disney, of course, now of course own Fox. So that means that unfortunately, they now own The Simpsons too. And The Simpsons, of course, now airs on D- as I call it. Thankfully, in the UK, it still airs on Channel 4, or so I guess that's something, but unfortunately, of course, it's now primarily on D-, sadly, which really sucks. So, and I think Disney, like how they've botched up many other franchises that I love, The Simpsons is definitely among them, because The Simpsons now just exist, in my opinion, as a shameless, lifeless advertisement for Disney's products, and not for The Simpsons themselves to be an enjoyable show whatsoever. I personally think The Simpsons that I used to love when I was a kid, it has gone completely. And an example of why I think they're shameless and stupid advertising for Disney is probably because of that dumb Marvel crossover which features Loki in it. because I've seen clips of that, and the more clips I see of that, the more less interested I am to watch the whole crossover, because in my opinion it looks rubbish. And I'm also will say that in my opinion the humour is nowhere near as funny as it has been before, because when I was a kid, guys, when I watched the old show and I played the games and I went on the Simpsons ride, I had so many laughs, you know, watching the show and the movie, playing the games and being on the ride. Whereas now, however, I don't find the Simpsons funny anymore. Because from a few clips I've seen of recent Simpsons, I've not laughed at them. All I've done is I've looked at them in pure annoyance and being really appalled, because the show is just not the same anymore. And also as well, do not get me started on the recast that happened in 2020. Like, I personally think that was one of the stupidest decisions a TV show has ever done. Like, the people behind the castings have no idea how acting works, and had to recast the characters just because they're not the same skin colour as who they're playing. Like, that's not how acting works. And that's why Harry Shearer has my respect, because he didn't agree with this recasting, because he said a very important point in the acting business being that when you play a character, you step into their shoes and you are no longer yourself. You're playing somebody who's completely different to you. And I couldn't agree more with what he said. And that, of course, has so much relevance when it comes to a situation. So, because the Simpsons show is no longer what it used to be, and because of those stupid recasts which make absolutely zero sense, I personally couldn't care less about this series. And I definitely think its perceived downgrading quality couldn't be any more true. I think it actually is happening, in my opinion, for tons of reasons that I've just talked about. And it's just really appalling to me how much better the humour, the stories, and even the script, I might also say, is in the old Simpsons compared to today's Simpsons. It's very appalling, in my opinion. And I personally think that this show is dead. And I really do hope that one day, of course, whoever is in charge of the show makes the decision to end it. Because I personally think this show is going nowhere. And I really hope one day they cancel the series and they end it. Because I personally think that the show is now just really stupid and it's not funny anymore. The stories, in my opinion, absolutely suck. Because like I said, it's just a pointless advertisement for Disney. That's all it is. That's all Simpsons is nowadays. In my opinion, it's an absolute joke. And I couldn't care less about it. When it comes to what I think of the old stuff, though, I will keep watching the old episodes up to a Simpsons movie, but the other one that I probably won't watch is the one is with Principal Skinner's a fraud, because that episode, of course, is hated universally by fans of the show, including me, and even Harry Shearer hates it as well, and I can't blame him whatsoever, because that episode, in my opinion, was horrible. That's probably the only one of the old era I won't watch, but I will keep watching the old series, because the old series, in my opinion, had way more heart in it than what we're getting today when it comes to Simpsons. And I will, of course, one day replay the Simpsons game on PS3 as well. I'll also rewatch the movie. I'll also rewatch points of views of a ride as well, which you can find on YouTube as well. Might even go on the ride again if I go to Universal Studios again. Who knows? And if I get a PS2 one day, one of the games I'll definitely be getting will be Simpsons Hit and Run, because that's my favourite Simpsons game of all time. But long story short, guys, in my opinion, The Simpsons is a massive example for me of what the old is better than the new. That's what I'll say. So you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to tell us in the comments what you guys think of The Simpsons. Do you think old's better than new with The Simpsons? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and to come in the future. And I'll see you all later.